We all know the story. Pioneers in covered wagons heading west into an empty wilderness, seeking new lives and land. This tale is etched into our collective memory, a myth of courage and progress. But is it the whole truth? Manifest Destiny told Americans their expansion was a divine plan, justifying actions and silencing doubts. Yet, the land was not empty. It was home to hundreds of native nations, Mexican citizens, and others whose lives would be upended. To understand our history, we must look beyond the simple version. The story of westward expansion is not just one of heroic settlement, but also of conquest, broken promises, and loss. By examining the parts we were never told, we gain a fuller, more honest understanding of who we are. This isn't about blame, it's about clarity. Let's peel back the myth and confront the complicated reality beneath. Let's take a second look. The phrase manifest destiny first appeared in 1845, a time of great change and ambition in the United States. The country was young, restless, and eager to define its place in the world. Newspapers buzzed with talk of new frontiers, and the air was thick with the promise of opportunity. It was coined by journalist John L. O'Sullivan, who wrote passionately to justify the annexation of Texas. O'Sullivan believed that America's expansion was not just a political move, but a moral imperative, an idea that would soon capture the nation's imagination. Manifest Destiny captured a growing belief that America's expansion was not a choice, but a fate, obvious, righteous, and divinely ordained. The phrase gave voice to a sense of mission, a feeling that the nation was chosen to spread its values across the continent. This idea was rooted in American exceptionalism, the belief that the United States was uniquely virtuous and destined to spread liberty and democracy. Many Americans saw themselves as torchbearers of freedom, carrying the light of progress westward. Expansion was seen as a gift to the world, not an act of aggression. Settlers believed they were bringing civilization, opportunity, and hope to untamed lands, and that their journey would benefit all. But practical motives mattered too. The nation's population was booming, cities were crowded, and people hungered for land and new beginnings. The promise of fertile soil and open space drew families westward, eager to claim their share of the American dream. There were also dreams of Pacific trade, visions of American ships sailing to distant markets, and hopes of economic prosperity that would come from reaching the far edge of the continent. Manifest Destiny turned ambition into a sacred mission, making conquest feel noble and even holy. Preachers spoke of it as God's will, and settlers gathered around campfires, inspired by the belief that they were part of something greater than themselves. The idea was preached from pulpits, printed in newspapers, and debated in Congress. It became a rallying cry, uniting people from different backgrounds in a common cause. The story of Manifest Destiny made personal dreams part of a national project. For many, the journey west was a chance to start over, to build a better life, and to be part of a grand adventure that would shape history. But for those already living in the West, Native American nations and other communities, this destiny meant invasion, loss, and upheaval. Their homes, cultures, and ways of life were threatened by the relentless push of settlers. The idea of Manifest Destiny took hold, fueling a movement that would reshape a continent. It inspired thousands to journey into the unknown, braving hardship and uncertainty for the promise of a new beginning. It justified the difficult, often violent work of westward expansion. Conflicts erupted, and the struggle for land and power left deep scars on the landscape and its people. And in its wake, Manifest Destiny left a trail of consequences, abandoned villages, lost lives, and a legacy that still shapes America's story today. Before Manifest Destiny had a name, its spirit was at work in the Southeast. The Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole had lived there for centuries, many adopting American ways, but their land was coveted for cotton, and pressure mounted. In 1830, President Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act, forcing native nations west of the Mississippi. The policy, presented as protection, was in reality ethnic cleansing. Despite a Supreme Court victory, the Cherokee were forced out. Thousands marched west on the Trail of Tears. Exposure, starvation, and disease killed a quarter of the Cherokee on the journey. The Trail of Tears was not an accident, but the direct result of a belief in destiny overriding justice. It was Manifest Destiny at its cruelest, and it would not be the last time. By the 1840s, the powerful idea of Manifest Destiny had swept across the United States, fueling a belief that Americans were destined, by fate, by God, or by history, to expand their nation from the Atlantic to the Pacific. This vision now turned its gaze to the vast, sun-baked lands of the Southwest, territories that were then part of Mexico. The promise of new land, resources, and opportunity drew the eyes and ambitions of settlers, politicians, and speculators alike. American settlers had already begun pouring into Texas, bringing with them their own customs, language, and most controversially, enslaved people. Tensions quickly escalated as these newcomers refused to assimilate into Mexican society, disregarding Mexican laws and customs. The issue of slavery became a flashpoint, deepening the divide between settlers and Mexican authorities, and setting the stage for open conflict. In 1836, after a series of bloody battles, Texas declared its independence from Mexico, forming the short-lived Republic of Texas. For nearly a decade, Texas existed as its own nation, but the desire for security and economic growth led its leaders to seek annexation by the United States. In 1845, the U.S. agreed, annexing Texas and igniting a diplomatic crisis with Mexico that would soon erupt into war. President James K. Polk, a staunch believer in manifest destiny, saw the annexation of Texas as just the beginning. His ambitions stretched even further west, to the fertile valleys of California and the distant shores of the Pacific Ocean. Polk was determined to secure these lands for the United States, no matter the cost. To achieve his goals, Polk provoked a confrontation along the disputed Texas-Mexico border. When fighting broke out, he declared that Mexico had shed American blood upon American soil, rallying Congress and the public to support a declaration of war in 1846. The stage was set for a conflict that would reshape the continent. The U.S. military, better equipped and organized, launched a series of campaigns deep into Mexican territory. After months of fierce fighting, American forces marched into Mexico City itself, raising the U.S. flag over the heart of the Mexican nation. The war had been won, but at a tremendous cost to both sides. In 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed, ending the war. Mexico was forced to cede nearly half its territory, including present-day California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, and parts of Colorado and Wyoming, to the United States, in exchange for $15 million, and a promise to respect the rights of Mexican citizens in the new lands. With the stroke of a pen, the United States now stretched unbroken from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The dream of manifest destiny had been realized, but it was a dream built on conquest, displacement, and broken promises. The treaty had promised to protect the property and civil rights of Mexican citizens living in the newly acquired territories. In reality, these promises were often ignored or violated. Many Mexican families found themselves suddenly foreigners in their own homeland, facing discrimination and legal battles to keep their land. Californios and Tejanos, Mexican landowners and settlers in California and Texas, lost vast tracts of land and much of their social standing. Once respected members of their communities, they were now treated as second-class citizens, their rights and heritage eroded by new laws and new arrivals. The conquest of the Southwest was not just a seizure of territory, it was a conquest of people, cultures, and ways of life. Native Americans, Mexicans, and Anglos were thrown together, often uneasily, in a new and rapidly changing society. The cultural clashes and injustices that followed would shape the region for generations. The new border, drawn by diplomats far from the land itself, left families and communities divided. It created a legacy of bitterness, resentment, and broken promises that still echoes along the border today. The map of North America had changed forever, but so too had the lives of countless people, Mexican, Native American, and Anglo alike, who now found themselves living in a new nation, under new rules. The cost of conquest was far greater than land. It was measured in lives lost, communities uprooted, and a legacy of sorrow that would linger long after the ink on the treaty had dried. With the continent secured, the next step was filling it. The 1862 Homestead Act offered 160 acres to anyone willing to live on and improve the land for 5 years. This promise drew hundreds of thousands west, immigrants, freed slaves, and poor farmers chasing the American dream. But homesteading was harsh. Drought, blizzards, and isolation broke many. The free land was not free. It had been taken from native nations through broken treaties. The same year, the Dakota War erupted as the Santee Sioux, starved by government neglect, rose up. The Homestead Act accelerated dispossession, turning native lands into farms for settlers. It was the engine that made manifest destiny a reality, one farm at a time. The dream came at a steep cost for those who were already there. The land's true price was paid in loss. The true history of the American West is not just found in textbooks or legends, but in the lived experiences of countless individuals, each with their own story of hope, hardship, and resilience. These stories, passed down through generations, reveal a land shaped by both conflict and cooperation, where destinies intertwined in unexpected ways. Consider Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce, whose people endured a harrowing journey across mountains and plains, seeking freedom and safety. After months of struggle, Chief Joseph surrendered with the haunting words, "From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever." His surrender marked not just the end of a battle, but the beginning of a new chapter of endurance and adaptation for his people. Settlers like Luna Kelly faced their own battles against the land, the weather, and the isolation of frontier life. Her diary entries paint a vivid picture of relentless hardship, but also of determination and hope. For many homesteaders, every day was a test of survival, and every small victory was hard-won. The West was never just a simple clash between settlers and Native Americans. Instead, it was a vibrant, multicultural crossroads where people from all over the world came together, sometimes in conflict, but often in cooperation. Mexican vaqueros brought their expert horsemanship and cattle-driving skills. Chinese laborers laid the tracks that connected the continent. African-American exodusters sought new beginnings, and Buffalo soldiers protected settlements and built infrastructure. Each group left an indelible mark on the frontier, shaping its culture and its future. While conflict was common, fueled by prejudice, competition for land, and cultural misunderstandings, there were also moments of cooperation and cultural exchange. Trade, shared knowledge, and mutual aid helped communities survive, and sometimes even thrive together. Cowboy culture itself was a blend of Anglo, Mexican, and Black traditions, creating a uniquely American identity that endures to this day. On the open range, skills and stories were shared across cultures, forging bonds that transcended background. Many settlers owed their survival to the wisdom and generosity of Native Americans, who taught them how to hunt, farm, and navigate the land. These exchanges were vital, even as tensions simmered beneath the surface. The West was a crowded, complicated space, a patchwork of cultures, ambitions, and dreams. Here, destinies collided, sometimes violently, sometimes peacefully, as people struggled to carve out a place for themselves. The myth of an empty, untouched land erases the rich diversity that existed long before and after settlers arrived. The West was always home to many peoples, each contributing to its story. The real story of the West is one of struggle, adaptation, and transformation. Communities rose and fell, cultures blended and clashed, and the land itself was forever changed by those who called it home. The West was never simple. Its history is a tapestry woven from moments of violence and peace, division and unity, hardship and hope. Its legacy is as complex and enduring as the people who lived it, a testament to the power of human resilience, cooperation, and the ongoing quest for a better life on the frontier. By the turn of the 20th century, the frontier was declared closed, but the consequences endured. Native nations lost nearly all their land. The buffalo were hunted to near extinction, destroying a way of life. Forced onto reservations, Native Americans faced cultural erasure, children sent to boarding schools, forbidden their languages and traditions. The trauma and broken promises left deep scars, with cycles of poverty and struggle persisting today. The myth of manifest destiny let Americans ignore these costs, celebrating pioneers while overlooking the price paid by others. The true cost was measured in lives, cultures, and moral compromise. Understanding that cost is essential to understanding ourselves. Stories shape how we see ourselves and our nation. Manifest destiny gave America purpose but also hid a painful truth. Myths matter. They influence our politics, our society, and our sense of justice. If we cling to simple stories, we miss the struggles of Native nations and the realities of our past. Honest history isn't about guilt, it's about wisdom. Every nation has its myths, but we must ask, whose voices are missing? Questioning our stories is an act of maturity, not disloyalty. History is an ongoing conversation, not a fixed set of facts. By embracing complexity, we build a stronger, more inclusive future. The stories America never told are waiting to be heard, if we're willing to listen.